The crafted Midha's Reckoning from King's Fall is hands down the best high impact fusion rifle in Destiny 2. It offers insane perk combinations for both PvE and PvP, and the enhanced versions of those perks takes the fusion rifle one step further. The question remains, is it enough to run over all the options we already have in Destiny 2? The answer is yes, no. Let's begin. Before we begin, Bungie was kind enough to send me some super rare emblem codes to give out to the community. This Scientia Illuminata emblem looks very awesome, and if you're looking to grab one, all you have to do is leave a comment below with something you're enjoying about the videos or Destiny 2 in general. I'll pull a random comment to receive the emblem in next week's video. I've got several of these to hand out, so you can keep checking back in even if you don't get one this time. And you don't even have to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to. I think my content speaks for itself, and if you want to stick with me, I'd love to have you. That said, you will have to check out the next video to see if your name's called. I just can't think of a better way to do that part. I'll try to put it in the comments as well, just in case. If you're new here, welcome to the only channel that does cinematic Destiny 2 guides and reviews. We're glad to have you, and I hope you stick around. Okay. Crafting Midha's Reckoning reminded me a lot of crafting Lubre's Rune due to all the perks you can combine to do crazy things on this fusion rifle, just like you could on the glaive. They both come from a raid, and I was dreaming about the combinations for both weapons weeks before I was finally able to craft them. By the end of the video, even if you don't feel like this fusion is for you, I guarantee you will see how unique it is.
Why did I not check that?
Oh.
What's your last? I got you.
I like this fusion rifle, I really do, but now that I've had a lot of time to spend with it this season, I'm not sure it's going to end up being a go-to for me other than very specific situations. But like I said, the way it can stack double charge time perks or a charge time perk and a damage perk make it very unique. Since it's craftable, you can stack those things on top of the exact range and stability balance that works for you with the barrel masterwork and battery, which makes it another thing that puts it above other high impacts. You can build it exactly the way you want, guaranteed. I'm gonna go over the way that I built mine, but first we're gonna dive into all the perks. For PvP, most of you know where this is headed from my previous videos, the speed perk combinations. It absolutely slays. And the crafted version gives you a pretty cool advantage that puts it neck and neck with the Harrowed Adept version. There's also a version of the fusion rifle that can 2-bolt kill in PvP, 100 damage a bolt. So stick with me and we'll get to why this crafted version is so cool in PvP. In PvE, explosions on fusion rifles are really fun. Reservoir Burst stacks with the intrinsic perk, and I think it's going to be really attractive for many. My final recommendation for PvE is going to look different than you might think, and I surprised myself with what perk combination I landed on as my favorite. Let's start there, the crafted perks in PvE. I really thought that my favorite way to run this thing was going to be backup plan with Reservoir Burst. You run an auto-loading fusion rifle armor mod, and then you whip out your fusion rifle for big bursts of damage with Reservoir Burst whenever you need to clear something. This was really fun, but it completely negates one of the great things about this weapon, the origin trait, Runneth Over. Runneth Over will overfill your magazine based on the number of allies that are nearby. Having your fusion rifle auto-reload never lets you take advantage of that origin trait. Normally that wouldn't matter much, but it does matter on this weapon because Runneth Over makes every shot activate Reservoir Bursts. So this led me down the trail of using Field Prep in the first column, and then Reservoir Burst in the second. Field Prep, while crouching, gives you plus 45 reload speed with a 0.8 multiplier on the actual reload animation. Plus it gives you a 0.8 multiplier on your ready and stow speed for the weapon. Plus it lets you hold extra reserve ammo, and all of those perks are made even better by the enhanced version. We don't have the exact numbers for how much extra all of these stats it gives you, but it does say it increases each of these benefits slightly more, which is more helpful than other enhanced perks like Enhanced Cornered that just give you some random other benefit like plus 5 stability. This enhanced Field Prep actually increases the effectiveness of Field Prep, even if the difference is slight. That's great. You feel Field Prep when you have it as a perk. The super fast reload plus Runneth Over feels amazing. You can very quickly get up to 10 shots in your mag. Just so you know too, the crewmates that you have with you in the seasonal activity count as allies. So even standing next to them while reloading will grant you extra shots in the magazine that can all get Reservoir Burst. Now here comes the bummer part. Wasting so much special ammo for Reservoir Burst feels bad in comparison to the other ad clearing methods we already have in Destiny 2. We've got Incandescent and Volt Shot on primary weapons. We've got volatile abilities for Void 3.0 on pretty much every class that will wipe out entire rooms without much thought. And just yesterday I was running through hordes of enemies with Caliban's hand like it was nothing. Above all, those ability and primary weapon methods are fun and easy. Reservoir Burst on a fusion rifle still feels like a lot of thinking and a little bit of work remembering where you were at in your clip. And in turn, it's not quite as much fun. So where does that leave us with Midha's Reckoning in PvE? Well, it's left me on a perk that I'm going to be doing a deep dive into soon, and you can think of this as sort of a preview to it. Golden Tricorn. Golden Tricorn has to be the most slept on perk in all of Destiny 2. You can easily get up to a 50% damage increase that lasts for 10 seconds. And then since that's just the weapon perk doing that, you can add things like boss or major spec and then empowering buffs on top of that. At just the base version of the perk, getting a kill, it's a 15% damage buff that lasts for 7 seconds. Then, if you add in an arc-powered melee or grenade kill within that 7 seconds, it bumps that damage buff up to 50%. That's more than you get for Enhanced Surrounded plus a Surrounded spec, which is only a 47% damage buff and usually lasts for a much shorter window. Plus, this is a slow-firing weapon that you don't want to get stuck in a group of enemies with. Now let's put this whole thing in the context of Arc 3.0. With a Titan as an example, if you run Knockout, you are getting an arc-powered melee on pretty much every melee kill. Whether you have your melee energy up or not, that's just what Knockout does for you. So you get a kill with Midha's, use your powered melee on another ad, and now you're amplified from Knockout and you've got Golden Tricorn ×2 procced. If you're running a melee well maker, you also just made a well to get Font of Might's 25% damage bonus. Run Spark of Beacons Fragment, which makes every arc special weapon kill blind all the surrounding enemies, and you've basically got a super powered heavy weapon in the special slot. Every bolt hits for 87.5% more damage from Golden Tricorn ×2 plus Font of Might, and whenever you defeat an opponent, everyone around them is blinded. This will be up pretty much all the time if you're using your melee for ad clear, because Golden Tricorn ×2 buff lasts for 10 seconds and refreshes whenever you get another powered melee kill. Plus, you can stick with field prep in the first slot to get those super fast reloads with bonus shots in the mag when surrounded by allies. This is my PvE suggestion after trying everything. Explosions are fun, absolutely, and it's very cool that Reservoir Burst works with Runneth Over, but there are so many other ad clearing options out there that Midha's Reckoning just feels very replaceable when I ran it like this. That's the word that kept coming to mind, replaceable. However, with Golden Tricorn, I have a reason to run Midha's in PvE that is powerful and it synergizes with Arc 3.0. The rest of the perks could have niche uses depending on your build if you really like fusion rifles. Pugilist, of course, for melee builds. Unrelenting pairs with Reservoir Burst to heal you on every big explosion you do. But ultimately, I don't think you'll find anything better than Field Prep for PvE. It's just too good with Runneth Over. You could run the second column with Vorpal or Surrounded, but I think Golden Tricorn is the real standout here. There could be a use for successful warm-up in PvE, but after trying it out, the massive damage from Golden Tricorn just felt so much better than having faster shots. If you want to do that, just go with a rapid-fire fusion rifle. Okay, PvP. This fusion rifle is just one of a kind. A 2-bolt kill. I'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to start with what I didn't like and move on to what makes it special with my personal recommendation at the very end. Despite going pretty hard in several previous videos on why I thought speed perk combinations were the way to play this thing, I kept having people tell me that stability and range perks on Midha's Reckoning made it feel crazy good for melting people at range. I just can't agree. If you're going for range and landing consistent shots, there are much better options out there. A Crafted Epicurean, Rapid Fire Fusions, Azure Ingredient, the Burden of Guilt, they all leave no room for Midha's Reckoning as just a standard hit your shots fusion. But as a burst of extreme damage out of nowhere, this thing shines. I've covered it in several videos already, but combining Backup Plan with successful warm-up on this thing is a dream. Backup Plan lets you whip this thing out for a 4 bolt at any resilience level with a 0.81 second time to kill by the time all the bolts connect. That's between the time to kill of a rapid fire and an adaptive frame fusion rifle. Then, once you have the kill, Successful Warm-Up lets you continue at a 3 bolt kill up to 9 resil at a 0.73 second time to kill, which for reference is faster than the time to kill of a base rapid fire frame fusion rifle. That is really good for having a great time to kill with a bunch of power for your first shot, and Successful Warm-Up for all the others. Now, the crafted version takes this even further. Enhanced Backup Plan adds a bit more to the timer you have to use Backup Plan, which doesn't matter as much, but Enhanced Successful Warm-Up starts at 6 seconds like normal, and every kill after adds 5 seconds to the Successful Warm-Up buff, as opposed to 4 seconds on the original perk. Now, those numbers don't sound like much, but I'm telling you, as someone who has used Successful Warm-Up a lot since it was introduced, a single second can make all the difference in the world. Think of it like percentages, like you would buffs. That's a 25% increase in time you have to use Successful Warm-Up on follow-up shots. That's a big increase. So this is a fantastic enhanced perk combo. The other speed perk combo for PvP that I had to re-record this section for because it's blowing my mind and very frustrating is Backup Plan plus Kickstart. It is an incredibly fast combo that requires perfect timing. I'm talking literal perfection. After driving myself crazy trying to figure out why it was activating for me sometimes and other times it wasn't, I realized the window to use them both together is less than half of a second. According to every site I checked, Backup Plan should last for 4 seconds, but every test I did on this thing, Backup Plan only lasted for 2 seconds. Kickstart takes 1.5 seconds to activate. If they were to both proc together, it would give it a charge rate of 532, which, if I'm understanding everything correctly, is more than the half-second window you have between Backup Plan's 2 seconds and Kickstart's 1.5 seconds, so it shouldn't be possible. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The enhanced version of Backup Plan gives you more time to activate Kickstart within it. My tests show half a second, so that super tiny bit of extra time is just enough to give you a smidge of time to activate both perks at once. It is possible. It requires complete perfection, and it rewards you with a 0.67 second time to kill. That is the fastest fusion rifle TTK in the game, not counting perks that require kill first like Successful Warm-Up. This is a hot off the press, on-demand perk. When I say it requires perfection, I mean you have to be so precise for this to work that at first I thought I was performing great, but it was just Backup Plan doing all the work when I rewatched the footage. Kickstart's 20% damage buff doesn't negate the lesser damage from Backup Plan, so the two of them combined together hits for almost 64 a bolt, which gives you that 0.67 TTK with only 3 bolts required up to 5 resilience. I'm telling you, you can feel it when it hits. It feels like you went and achieved the impossible. In fact, like I said earlier, I think it is impossible without the enhanced version of Backup Plan. If you want to check to see if you actually got both these perks to proc together, you can confirm the numbers per bolt shows as 64. Otherwise, they'd be standard 66 with neither perk procced, around 80 for just Kickstart, or much lower at 53 for just Backup Plan. Now, there is one other combo that is amazing with this thing, and it's not a speed perk: Golden Tricorn. Okay. This is by no means an S tier option, but it is a very cool, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that sort of option. I've talked in previous videos about how I break the range cap on fusion rifle damage fall off by stacking so much damage that it doesn't matter how far the target is. You can do that with this, and you don't even need an extra empowering buff. Golden Tricorn times 2 will do 99 damage a bolt on a high impact fusion rifle. This shows up as 100 in game due to rounding. Now, it does require setup, and that's why it's not an S tier option, but the setup isn't that insane. So here's how I run it. I still use Backup Plan in the first column, so I get my cheeky super fast 4 bolt kill off with that. Then I run in for an Arc 3.0 shoulder charge with Peregrine Greaves. Feel free to use the new Warlock Arc melee, or you could even use an Arc Grenade, whatever gets you that Arc ability kill. For me, Peregrine Greaves is just such an easy option when you've got a Juggernaut aspect equipped to safely fly in. So you have to get that melee kill within 7 seconds, just like in PvE, and now you've got 10 seconds of 50% more damage on your high impact fusion rifle. It's truly something else. It feels like when you stack damage for a one-shot glaive kill, but it's just a fusion rifle. If all the bolts were to hit, you do almost 500 damage in a single burst. That's wild. For the barrel, battery, and masterwork, in PvE, man, I never thought I would recommend this on a fusion rifle, but in PvE I'd suggest a reload speed masterwork, accelerated coils, and then either fluted barrel or hammer forged rifling for the barrel. Having charge time bonuses helps the fusion feel a lot smoother in PvE, and I believe will crank out more DPS as you get your shots out faster. If you have a very small window of a single shot, then yes, liquid coils would be better. But most of the time, you can get more than just that single shot off, so since my primary suggestion is field prep and golden tricorn, a little bit of extra shooting speed and a little bit more reload are gonna help you out there. Plus, you'll have a bit more handling from fluted barrel. I mentioned hammer forge just because in some cases damage drop off starts hitting before I'd like if I don't have enough range. So I'll put it there as an option if you feel you need it. For PvP, those who follow me know what I'm gonna say here. All range. I tried it other ways, but it just feels so much better with all the range you can muster to connect all your aim assists with the most damage possible. So a range masterwork, projection fuse for the battery, and then I use extended barrel for the barrel. Extended barrel does lower my handling, but the better recoil direction feels worth it. Plus we get 100 handling automatically with our first shot from backup plan. It might hurt us a bit on our successful warm-up shots, but I'm wrecking shop so hard at that point that I don't really mind it. Final thoughts. Is it worth using over other fusion rifles? In PvE, there are so many interesting ways to run it, I feel like it's worth having. I personally think the golden tricorn damage stacking is really cool. Explosions with Reservoir Burst is fun, but I love all my other ad clearing methods. I run Ager's Scepter a lot, which does a bang up job with ads, and Midha's just can't even hold a candle to that. Then for just quick bursts of damage, it feels like a rapid fire chill clip Riptide might do better. However, for large chunks of damage, I do think golden tricorn is pretty legit. For PvP, man, backup plan and kickstart really surprised me with how ridiculous it was, but complete perfection with a window of less than half a second is not something you want to rely on. My favorite go-to PvP role has to be backup plan with successful warm-up. It just works so seamlessly together. The biggest problem with the whole thing is that Epicurean and Burden of Guilt just do everything I would want this thing to do, but more consistently. That's just the honest truth. The one scenario where I could see myself running this weapon over other fusion rifles is if I was facing a team of high resil titans and I wanted to pour out more damage faster. Now, I would still run this over any other high impact, and I would still run this over other precision frames like Deliverance. So what I'm saying is, it still feels really good and it offers some really unique things that make it worth crafting. But it's still more A tier than S tier for the way that I play. But I'm not you, and this could be the missing piece to your perfect Destiny 2 PvP loadout. That's our complete breakdown for the crafted Midha's Reckoning with enhanced perks from the King's Fall raid in Destiny 2. I hope you enjoyed all the different recommendations. This thing truly has a lot of wild ways to run it, and I hope one of them fits your playstyle. Even if it doesn't, I hope you stack up some red borders to keep the craftable version in your back pocket. If high impacts ever come back in hot with longer ranges or a faster charge time, this thing will be at the absolute top. I have no doubt. It is the best high impact fusion rifle, and I will stand by that. And I hope you have no doubts about this channel and decide to sub and stick around for more cinematic Destiny 2 guides. More deep dives to come, including the Trials shotgun versus the seasonal shotgun, glaives with Arc 3.0, and more on what golden tricorn can do with other weapons. Until next time, GG.